So one of the brilliant things designers do is produce designs. They can also help you with one of the other more important parts of the process, which is choosing between those designs. So Jonathan, what are some best practices for making decisions between designs using user feedback?
Sure. I like to think of it as three sort of different general areas of your designs when you're thinking about how to structure your app or your website. So we have information architecture, which is sort of the way that things are structured and the sort of the flow. There's also interaction design, which is whether or not it's easy to find a button on your page or your app. And then there's also the design element or the visual design. The visual design allows a user to give feedback on the appeal or the color scheme or other elements within your design. So thinking of it in these three general areas gives you sort of the ability to sort of ask the questions that you want to get good feedback from your design.
Okay, so as an example, we had feedback in our original paper prototype that our structure was confusing, users couldn't actually check things off, and that would have been information architecture. And then we also had feedback that the frequent action button was good size, and so that would be like interaction design.
Exactly.
And then we also had feedback that our checkboxes were hard to find or not visually appealing, and so that would be visual design.
Correct, yeah. All of those elements combined together, I think, are essentially the concept, or some experts call the conceptual design. But all of those aspects are fundamental to the design of your app, and you want to be thinking about all three as you are developing your app.
Okay, so let's say we've got a designer who's given us two different visual designs for an element. Let's say they've given us a button that is designed one way and a button that is designed another way. How would we go about using user research to choose between those?
Sure. So you can do two types of studies. One, you can run through a group of users of 2 or 3 users where you show button A, then you show button B, and you ask for them to provide feedback on that set. Then in a separate study, you can do it for a separate group of users showing button B, then button A. You can compare notes from both of those studies to find out which is the best button to use.
And do users tend to prefer the one they see first generally or the one they see last generally, or is it not as clear as all that?
It's not always that clear and simple. Oftentimes you want to get a user's initial reactions, but showing them close together really helps give them a visual cue to telling you whether or not it's something they really enjoy.
Okay. One of the things that we just used as an example was, there's a button A and there's button B. What happens if a designer gives you 5 or 10 button designs? Do you still test all of those at once, or do you test just 2 at a time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's really important to be thinking about can the user achieve what you're intending them to achieve with your design. So it can be 10 buttons or it can be 15 buttons, but can they achieve what the intended task or objective is with your designs? So if a designer presents you with many different buttons, it may be helpful just to kind of trim it down a little bit. But if you have that many buttons in order to achieve the intended task, you may still need to test all of those buttons being available there.
So it sounds like it's best to compare these buttons in separate studies. It also sounds like it's best to think about all 3 levels of design when you're thinking about alternate designs for your app.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you sort of hit the nail on the head when you say thinking about all 3 levels. Thinking about all 3 levels really encompasses the heart or the concept or the conceptual design aspect of your app. You should really be doing something that enables a user to do something that they love to do. And that's really the heart aspect of your app. Something that I always really enjoy talking about too.
Awesome. Thank you again for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.